Let's bring in a third voice to join this conversation. Hashtag BYUSN if you would like to join the conversation. Bryan with a Y, Bryan Kehl is back with us on BYU Sports Nation, joining us on the Deseret First Credit Union hotline. Bryan, nice to have you back, man.
Fellas, what's up, man? I just, first and foremost, just want to apologize for yesterday. Sorry I couldn't connect with you guys. I was in the woods away from civilization with no connectivity, so I apologize.
No, all good,
right, man. Spencer, I actually texted him. I was like, B, let's get the big B and the little B show back going. And I'm coming on tomorrow, so act like you have some phone difficulties, and then we'll go ahead and get the relaunch of the big B, little B show.
It was meant to be, Bryan.
Can I get an amen? Strategic planning right there.
Bryan, we've got a great conversation rolling, and I know you just heard us present the question of the day, but we want to hear your opinion. What is more important to the success of a team, and specifically a football team, leadership or talent?
Man, that is a good question. I'm going with C, both. I don't know that you can say one is more important. I mean, honestly, I think at the end of the day, talent edges out leadership, because if you have a bunch of fantastic leaders that all run 6 at 40, you aren't gonna beat anybody. On the flip side, if you have a bunch of hooligans that all run 4 240s and bench 500 pounds, like, you're gonna beat some people, even if they're a bunch of hooligans. So, I mean, obviously those are the extreme cases, but yeah, I don't know. That's a tough. So a group of my friends, we had this discussion, guys that I played with later after my mission at BYU. And I think I've said this on the air before, I don't know, but the most talented team, in my opinion, that I played on at BYU was 2002.
Really?
And we went 5-7. And I said that to a bunch of guys that I played with in 06 and 07, and they didn't believe me. They're like, whatever, right? And so I started naming off guys on that team that played in the NFL. There was 12 guys on that team in 2002 that played in the NFL. 6 of them got drafted, and we went 5-7.
See.
Anyway, back to your question. Why were we so bad in 2002? I think because leadership. I don't think we had very good leadership. I think so. In 2001, it was Gary Crowton's first year, and they had Brandon Doman, they had Luke Staley. Doman is just one of the best leaders that I've seen. Just a great guy. Rally the troops, lead them into battle, that kind of guy. I think losing him and losing some of those other players really hurt us in 2002. You need both. End of the day, leaders and you need talent, because if you don't got talent, you ain't gonna win.
Who are the top leaders you played with from 2005 to 2007? Who were those guys?
Man, we had some good dudes. The general, of course, Cameron Benson, was a fantastic leader. John Beck was as good as a leader as you'll find. He's the type of guy, he's just everything you want out of the quarterback. He's there early, he stays late, he's out there on the field with his receivers running routes, he's in the film room. I mean, he's doing I talked to him, like, when he was in the NFL, there was that year, there was the lockout, and you couldn't go to the team facility, even if you wanted to. Like, you weren't allowed to go there. They sent us, like, each team sent you a notice you couldn't go there. And then there was, like, in the middle of that lockout, there was, like, this one-day period where some federal judge, or I don't remember what happened, but they lifted the lockout. Beck was in San Diego. He got on a plane and flew out to Washington and sat in the facility and studied film all day until it was like one day. Then they relifted the lockout and put it back on, and he came home.
Wow.
Like, that's the type of guy. I know. You talk about going the extra mile. You talk about going the extra 3,000 miles. but that's just who he was. He's just a gym rat. Then you had other guys, like Curtis Brown. I mean, just a fantastic leader. We had a lot of guys like that on our team, and that's really what made the difference. That's why we were so good during those years. What
are the attributes that they had that made them such great leaders? I mean, I know you talked about John being an example of getting to the workout facility and all that, but, like, what are some characteristics of personalities that made them great leaders?
Yeah, so there's different types of leaders. Like, you have the vocal leaders, and Cameron and John both fit that bill. they did everything they were supposed to do, and they were really vocal and, would get in people's face when they weren't doing stuff they were supposed to do, et cetera, et cetera. And then we had great leaders who just did their job. And that's leadership, in my opinion. When you show up every day, when you work your tail off, guys like Nate Mickle, I think is the perfect example of that. A guy who's kind of the unsung hero, does the dirty work, works his absolute tail off in the weight room, was, pound for pound, probably the strongest guy on the team. Pound for pound, I'd put some of his numbers that he did in the weight room up with anybody. I mean, he had really good numbers in the weight room. A guy weighed like 160 pounds, or whatever he weighed. But he wasn't a captain. He wasn't out there in front, really vocal, but he did everything he was supposed to do. And we had a dozen guys on our team like that. And I really think that made the difference.
Bryan, I talked to Spencer earlier about probably my favorite Bronco quote. And it wasn't even like he was giving us like a rah-rah speech. He was actually almost like, kind of talking, I don't want to say bad or down, but he was letting us know how it was going to be and the guys that were going to play. And he said, I don't care who the best 11 players on the field are going to be. I want the best 11 guys that can play together, right? Those are the guys that are going to play. And I feel like, if we could answer the question, that right, as far as leadership versus talent, that right there in that statement to me, kind of answers it for us, right? And I want to just get your thoughts on that, especially, playing under Bronco and seeing the differences of, guys that are all 11 guys that are talented versus, guys that can play together that are the best.
Yeah, you see that. I think you see that a lot in like an NBA, like, the Olympic Dream Team or whatever, the different Olympic teams that the NBA has sent to the Olympics. Sometimes those teams like just run through the competition and it's not even close. And sometimes like I'm not super up on the years, but I want to say like 2004 or something like that, where they went out to the Olympics and like lost and kind of embarrassed the U.S. And we were talking about, Hall of Famers, All-Stars on this team, and they went out and got beat by a bunch of guys who probably are like used car salesmen on the side from whatever country they're from. Like they're not even like they wouldn't. Some of these guys I probably wouldn't even make an NBA team, And it just goes back to that's a great statement what Bronco said there, and it makes sense. Like if you can't play together, it doesn't matter how good you are. And football, so that's basketball. I mean, we've seen with LeBron what one really good player can do to a sucky team. So basketball is a team sport, but the ultimate team sport is football. So if there's a sport where that matters the most, it's definitely football. Because if you don't play together, you can't perform.
Former BYU linebacker standout, played in the NFL. Bryan Kehl is with us on BYU Sports Nation. With the increasingly difficult schedules that BYU is playing, Bryan, what will equal success for BYU in the 2018 season in terms of a win-loss record?
That's a tough question. Success is like, it's just one of those things where it's like beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So success is in the eye of the beholder, man. Because you could talk to 10 people and ask them, what's a successful season? You can get 10 different answers. So, it's funny. I used to hear this all the time, like from BYU fans, and it really bugged me. They're like, I don't care if we lose every game as long as we beat Utah. And I was like, screw that. Like, I want to win every game and beat Utah, right?
Mm-hmm. Facts.
That being said, like, it's been so long since we beat those jokers. Like, I really, 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 really could go for a win over Utah. like really. Like, I really could go for one of those. Like, it's been a long time, and I live in Salt Lake County, and I have to deal with these turkeys on a daily basis, and I'm kind of getting sick of it. So
I'm almost with you with that, man. You know what? That's funny. I would never have thought I would agree with that statement until you just brought it to light. I'm there with you, man. If we win, man, let's go out and celebrate afterwards. Let's get chocolate wasted on you. You got NFL money, so
ice cream on me. Ice cream on me.
Oh, great stuff.
I was talking to somebody about that. There's like a whole generation of kids that don't know what a BYU win over Utah is.
Crazy.
And somebody else brought up that point, and it hurt my soul just thinking about that. There's this whole generation of kids that live here in the state that just kind of think that Utah is way better than BYU. It's like, no.
See, man, do it for the kids. Let's
get
that win.
We got to upend that.
Yeah, let's do it for the kids.
I think we need a new T-shirt for BYU Utah Week that just says "Do it for the children."
Do it for the children.
Royal blue with white lettering. Do it for the children. Bryan,
for the children. All right.
Great to talk to you, man. Thanks for the time, and enjoy the rest of your Pioneer Day in Utah.
Hey, thanks, guys. Always a pleasure.
Bryan Kehl on the Deseret First Credit Union Hotline. Deseret First, your values, your timeline, your financial future.